Some of you may know Jim Duff, owner of Moto Nige in Chateauguay. His company is about to take a 50% loss due to the policy change from the Laurentian Bank last week. The changes made have stirred up a lot of controversy, as the changes will only affect his clients on reserve. Therefore, he feels this is a matter of discrimination.
So I don't understand why we could not refinance that loan. It all comes down to being because of the post office box. Personally, I find that totally unacceptable. The person has already proven that he has good credits. He's never missed a payment. He's already got a loan with them. How can you say, well, we can't refinance that, or we don't want to give you a loan because you don't have a post office, because of a post office box? It makes no sense to me whatsoever. To me, it's absolute discrimination.
Last Saturday, 40 ski students walked away from a tragic accident in the Laurentians just off Highway 117. A young Kahnawake woman, Wayagutste Diome, was one of the survivors. 12-year-old Diome was on her way to a scheduled ski trip at Grey Rocks with the Rod Roy Ski School when the accident happened. The bus veered into the southbound lanes and hit the guardrail, ending up in a ditch. The driver, a Lachine resident, was thrown from the bus and died at the scene. Diome says the bus crashed and she blacked out. Deidre Diome says that she is very happy her daughter is well and that she has shown incredible strength. The day after the accident, Diome went on to compete in a gymnastic competition and won a silver and gold medal. February of 2006, the Mohawk Council of Kahnawake held a vote of non-confidence against Chief Keith Mayo for misrepresenting himself as a chief. This ultimately led to his removal from the table. This past Monday, another vote of non-confidence was held towards Mayo relating to his conviction of assault back in December, where Kahnawake courts found him guilty. This time around, Mayo barely escaped being ousted once again by one vote.
For the record, I objected that I wouldn't participate in there because it's not me to remove a fellow council member. I didn't put him here, the people did. And I cannot take that voice away from them.
Last month, the MCK hired Detective Jerry Swamp of the Aguesasne Mohawk Police to investigate a complaint that was received concerning Mayo's conviction. However, Swamp did make recommendations to the MCK regarding holding a vote of no confidence. He states that holding such a vote could be detrimental to the MCK's integrity and the confidence the community has entrusted in it. He was a noted radio personality in Kahnawake. In the late 80s, when the community was said to be politically charged, he apparently knew how to add a certain calmness to any situation.
In my opinion, Conway Jocks is the father of modern media here in Kahnawake. Plain and simple. If Conway didn't persevere back in the late 70s, early 80s, and to 1981 to get K103 on the air, if there was no Conway, it just wouldn't have happened.
It's something he had to create from nothing. You know, we didn't have a radio station before. You know, so it was a learning experience for everybody. You know, and Conway was the captain. You know, he was the one that had to steer the ship.
A fatal car crash on the Marina Road last week claimed the life of one man and left two injured. Jerry Kondo, a 34-year-old man from Rustagush and resident of Kahnawake, died after the vehicle he was riding in crashed into a tree shortly before 7 p.m. on August 23rd. Kondo was rushed to the hospital but was unfortunately reported DOA from internal injuries. Kondo is survived by his wife, Heidi Daibo, and two children.
The Haudenosaunee Confederacy has made important strides on border crossing issues. We go now to Wayagutste Deer for a full report. Wayagutste, can you give the details on some of the important developments that have been made on this issue?
Well, Christine, this month of February has proved to be a pivotal month in the work of the Grand Council appointed Haudenosaunee Documentation Committee. I spoke with Deawizade Thomas Deer via telephone regarding these recent developments.
It began a few years ago when the Grand Council was looking to have the Department of Homeland Security recognize an updated version of the Haudenosaunee passport. But in time, I guess there was a realization that a new ID card also needed to be made.
Well, Christine, several community members did raise the issue of banishment and saying, of course, in connection with the raids that had taken place last week, some community members felt that those individuals who were caught should be banished. Others felt that banishment was too harsh and that perhaps the community should come up with another form, another communal law, perhaps looking at the issue of intervention rather than, sending them away. The community is still uncomfortable with the idea of having outside forces come into the community, but people should be reassured that the local police were calling all the shots that day. After nearly 17 years of being the owner and editor of Kahnawake Eastern Door, Kenneth Deere has decided it's time to move on.
We've officially come to a price. So, you know, it's unofficially official, and there's nothing that's really going to stand in the way of us taking it over in July.
The Nation office.
Yes,
Burns
that
in
was
the village.
in the village. That was the Nation office and a number of homes, right?
There was the Nation office, then an apartment
the big stone,
on the side.
the big stone house.
Yeah.
And then there was
It was a sad story, but it also had a positive outcome.
there was no loss of life.
Yeah.
There was no loss of life, and that I think was the biggest story. I mean, it also went to showcase as well the the talents of our fire brigade here in Kahnawake. Even Harper apologized for the residential schools.
It was a long time coming,
Right.
and you never thought that Canada was going to take that position because, for them to take ownership of that history.
It was more symbolic, but it meant a lot to Native people right across Canada.
It was a sad day for the McGowan family as they laid Tyler Glasgow to rest, a young Kahnawake boy just 15 years old, killed while riding his bike after he was hit during a police chase. A son, brother, nephew, cousin, and friend. More than 100 people, mostly family and friends from high school, walked behind the hearse as it made its way down the 207 to the Catholic cemetery, where more family and friends waited.
Tyler was such a beautiful child. He brightened everybody's world when he walked into a room. He was such a gentleman. Always caring, always smiling, and just a joy to be around.
Carl Horn being reinstated
Yeah.
as a peacekeeper in our community.
Yeah, almost a year and a couple months later, he was reinstated after a arbitrator ruled in his favor that he was wrongfully dismissed, and ordered him back to work. And this came from the previous year, September, October, I believe, where he was, fired by the Kahnawake peacekeepers for allegedly breaching confidentiality. It went through arbitration, it went through the system, and the arbitrator said, "Nope, I don't agree with you. He was wrongfully dismissed. He's going back to work."
The peaceful protest against the arming of the Canada Customs border guards is still going strong in our sister community of Akwesasne, as the June 1st arming date has come and gone.
So the people started gathering in meetings and decided that they wanted to somehow protest this issue. Since then we've been here and occupying the spot, and then at midnight at the same time the customs officers here abandoned this building. They left here for, according to them, for their own safety.
And at this point everything has been peaceful and respectful at this time?
Yes, that's all we ask, that people keep a good mind.
The final list of candidates was released this past weekend, and 2 people have been disqualified from running. One is Keith Mayo, and the other one is Martin Morris. But the big story again is Keith and Martin are not allowed to run. Now, I did call Lindsay Laborn to ask him what the dealio was. And he told me that due to confidentiality reasons, he was not allowed to tell the community why they weren't eligible to run. And I said, well, if somebody's going into public office and they're not allowed to run, it doesn't make sense that you can't say why.
They've made their name public. They've tried to accept
So I didn't agree with
nomination.
that. So Keith issued us a statement. Kara talked to him briefly, and he said that he was disqualified from running in the upcoming elections on the grounds that he did not leave council in good standing, with the disciplinary actions against him from the previous running council when he was ousted from office, which is still in appeal right now from what I understand. So he's thinking that he's going to challenge this decision again.
We vaccinated approximately 3,800 people in 5 days, so that was a very good turnout. We're very pleased with those numbers. The only time people waited long was maybe 45 minutes, the max they waited.
Did any individuals experience any on-site complications or reactions?
We had a handful, and what I mean by a handful is about maybe 5 people the most, did have some on-site reactions, but it was more of fainting spells, almost fainting spells, and I think it was due to the anxiety of having a needle, of being vaccinated, but it was handled by the nursing, the EMTs that were there.